Hey guys and gals, it's Mr. Farina here, ready to work out some SBAC prep test numero uno with you guys. So this practice test, or prep test, however you want to call it, is full of stuff we've learned all year long, so I feel like every question is different, so it's not like I can just teach you one thing, but I can remind you of what we're doing. So let's start on number one. Alright, so on number one, it says find the GCF for 25 and 75. So hopefully you guys remember that. What we do for these, if some classes would have you do the towers, right? So I'd write 25 here, 75 here, and then I would do my towers, and I would figure out what numbers can go into this. So what times what equals 25? So 1 times 25. Can 2 times something equals 25? No, because 2 is an even number, so it wouldn't work in there, right? 3 times something equals 25? No. 4? No. 5 times 5 works, right? And then you would go backwards. 6 wouldn't work, 7, 8, 9, 10. None of those work, right? Since we got to 5, let me see here. Actually, you can go all the way to 25. So then 11 times something, no. 12 times something, no. 13 times something, no. So that's how this works, right? And then you can also do it over here. So 1 times, 1 times 75. 2 doesn't go in there, like we said before. 3 times 25 goes in there, right? Then 4 doesn't go in there. 5 times what equals 75? So that's actually the reason I don't like doing it this way, because you have to think like in my head, 5 times what would it be? See, I can't even do it in my head what 75 would be. I'd have to work it out. I'd have to go, let me see here. 5 goes in here 1 time, so this is 5, subtract, get 2, bring down my 1, I get 5, so like, 15, 5 times 15. So you see how that was some extra work I feel like I had to do. And then at the end, once you get all of those out, you figure out what's the biggest number in both of these. So my answer would be 25, right? The biggest number is 25 in both of these. The other way of doing this, which I like to do better, or I like to do, I prefer it, is the layer cake method. So again, I'm going to start with 25. Oh, I'm writing in red now, which is okay. And I'm going to put my layer cake here. So what number goes into both these numbers? Well, I know 5 does, right? So I can take 5 out, and 25 divided by 5, right? 25 divided by 5 would give me 5. And the same as before, 75 divided by 5 I already worked out before, so I know it was 15, right? And now I make my next layer. So I'm going to use a different color because I can. And now I'm thinking, what numbers can go into both of these? Well, I see they both end in 5s, which means they're divisible by 5. So I'm going to divide by 5 again. And when I do that, 5 divided by 5 equals 1. And 15 divided by 5 equals 3, right? So when you're doing GCF, I know that these numbers on the left, I'm just going to multiply them together to get my number. I have 5 times 5, which equals 25. I feel like that's a faster and more efficient way to get your answer here for GCFs. Alright, so that's the answer to number 1. Number 2 says 1/3, something divided by 1/3. So something divided by 1/3 equals 5/6, right? And it would be kind of easy. I'm going to put my look. Alright, so then what we're going to do here is think. I know that whatever this is over here, this number, divided by 1/3 equals 5/6. That means if I do times 1/3, right? If I do times 1/3 here, I'm going to figure out what it is. So all I'm going to do is do that across. 5 times 1 equals 5. 6 times 3 equals 18, right? So now let's plug it back in here, and let's check it out, see if it works. So my answer is 5/18. I have to remember I'm going to do keep, change, flip, right, or KCF. Why can't I erase this? Sorry guys, I'm trying to, 1 second. So now I can multiply across to see if it works. So if I have 5/18, I'm going to keep my first fraction, change my sign from division to multiplication, and then I flip my second fraction, right? And let's see what we get. Well, I know right here that 3 goes into 18, so I can cross cancel here. This becomes 1, because I'm dividing 3 by 3, which equals 1, and I'm dividing 18 by 3, which equals 6. And now I can just multiply across. So 5 times 1 equals 5, and 6 times 1 equals 6, which is my answer, right? So I know that 5/18 works, and that is my answer for number 2. That was a tricky one, guys. Yeah, I'm not a fan of how it was actually worded or presented on that one. Alright, moving on to number 3. That is just 189.62 minus 53.91, right? Or 62 hundredths and 91 hundredths. So the trick to this is to make sure you line up your decimals. So actually what I like to do often is I first, and I just made that mark, but what I like to do is just put my decimal point first. So I'm going to put my decimal point and then the numbers that are after it. So on the top one I have 0.62, right? And now I'm going to put 189 here. And on the next one I'm going to line up my decimal first, so I know my decimal is going to go here no matter what, and then I plug in my numbers. So I have 0.91 and then 53. So now my numbers are lined up, right? And it's easy for me to solve the rest. And you guys can do that on your own. Number 4, it says the ratio of miles per hour is 25 miles per hour. Complete the ratio table below with the equivalent ratios. So it says the ratio is 25 miles per hour. Complete the ratio below with equivalent ratios. So it kind of gives you the answer for the first one. But if you guys didn't catch it, let me zoom in here. Oh, not on there. I want to zoom in here. Let me zoom in on this bad boy. And it's not letting me. There it goes. So I can think 25 times what equals 75? So what times 25 times what equals 75? Well, then I would know it's times 3, right? So if I do that times 3, I know that whatever this number is in this box times 3 is going to give me 3, which is just 1, right? And it tells us that because it says 25 miles per hour, which means 25 miles per 1 hour. So I know to get here, all I did was multiply 3. So now if I go to my next number, 25 times what is this, right? Well, what am I multiplying by? We don't know yet. So let's go over here. 1 times 6, right, equals 6. So if I do times 6 there, I need to do times 6 here. So 25 times 6 will be my answer in that section right there. And you can work that out all the way through. Yeah, you could even do, like on this next one, I could do, I have 1 going all the way to 18, right? So 1 times what equals 18? Well, I know that's times 18. So then 25 times 18 is going to give me this answer, right? This is something we practice. Hopefully you guys can get that. Just make those relations where just whatever you do on the bottom, you have to do to the top. And that's how we do number 4. Number 5 says Peggy ran 3 miles in half an hour. So if she keeps that same rate, how many miles would she run in 2 hours? So let's look. If we have half an hour and she ran 3 miles, right, we can make our own table here. So let's say this is miles. Let's write miles up here, or I'm just going to put M over hours, right? So this is half an hour, so I'm going to say 0.5, right? And she ran how many miles? Well, she ran 3 miles. So if I was to make it a table like we just saw on number 4, well then at 1 hour, this would double, right? Because this would be 1 hour, and this would be 6. You know what I'm realizing right now is I mix these up. This isn't miles an hour. This is actually, sorry about that, guys. Even me making mistakes. Look at, it's not miles per hour. I have hours over miles right now because of how long it takes. Hours over miles. The ratio is going to work out either way though. So she ran 3 miles. I'll forget you can't see what I'm pointing at. So she ran 3 miles in half an hour, right? This is half an hour, 0.5. So then in 1 full hour, she would have ran 6. So then if we're trying to figure out how many she ran in 2 hours, I'm going to change this to 2, right? Because that's my hours. So how did I get from 1 to 2? Well, I'm multiplying by 2, which means I need to multiply this by the same number to get that answer. Alright, hopefully that makes some sense. Alright, that's number 5. For number 6, remember our famous little saying here, PEMDAS. And there's a reason that these are stacked on each other. So it stands for parentheses, right? Exponents, multiplication or division, whichever shows up first, left to right, and then addition or subtraction, whichever shows up first, left to right. So that's what you need to figure out on this equation. Do I have any parentheses? Well, let's look. I do. So I have to do that first. So I would rewrite the problem. I'll just do this first section for you guys. 72 divided by 1 plus 5 squared plus 4 times 3. Now I'm going to do this first one first because that's the first thing that shows up for my PEMDAS, right? So I have 72 divided by, what's 1 plus 5? Well, that's 6. So that's still in my parentheses. Squared plus 4 times 3. So now what I'm going to do is, do I have any more parentheses? I don't. This one doesn't count because there's nothing else to do inside the parentheses. So I'm done with this, right? Now I go to E, exponents. So where's my exponents here? Do I have any? I do. I have one right here. So I have to do this next. So then I'm going to, rewrite the problem, but solve that section and keep doing it until you get to the end. And then I'll be done with my exponents. So that's how you work this question out. Good luck. Number 7 says find the area of the following figure. So what is that shape? I know you guys know it. We have a triangle here, right? And our area, that's what it's asking for, of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 base times height. So find your base, find your height, and then you're going to be able to figure this out. I'll tell you right now, your base is right here, right? It's the bottom, and your height's the one that goes up and down. In our class, we were also looking for the little right triangle, which we don't really have here, but you can tell it'd be right there. So you're going to multiply those together and then divide by 2. That is number 7. Number 8, it says 74,318 divided by 59. So this is just a long division problem, which a lot of us are not big fans of. And that's all you would have to do is just work it out the long way. So we have, this goes inside, this goes on the outside, and then we have to figure out how many times can it go in there. 59 goes into 74 one time, right? Then you subtract. I'm going to borrow from here. This becomes 6. This becomes 14. I get 8, 18. Bring down your next number, and then keep working. So on this, what I would do is think of this number right here. And obviously, I didn't finish it for you, right? But think of this as 60. Instead of 59, think of it as 60. Because then think, how many times can 60 go into 180? So estimate your numbers here. And then you can get a better idea of what would work. So I would say like 59 times 3, because 60 times 3 is 18. So let me try that and see what I get. I get 27, 15, 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. So that's pretty close, right? So I know my next number is 3, and I get 177. Work it out. Keep working. I got 2 of those numbers for you. You're almost there. Halfway there, guys. All right. That was number 8. Number 9 says select all of the following that illustrate n equals 4. So all you have to do, let's look at this first one. I'm going to say 12, and instead of n, I'm going to plug in 4. Right? 12 times 4 equals 3. Now if I work that out, I get 12 times 4, which is actually 48. Does that equal 3 somehow? No, right? These don't equal each other. That means that's not my answer. So that wouldn't be it. So you're going to keep working those, and you're just going to substitute in 4 for the letter n, for the variable n. Okay? That is number 9. Alright, number 10 is just asking you to complete the following true-false tables. So the opposite of the opposite, so notice that it's on there twice, opposite of the opposite of negative 6 equals negative 6. Is that true or false? Next one says negative 2.5 is to the right of negative 2. So on a number line, maybe you want to draw one, which one's to the right? Is it negative 2.5 or negative 2? And then this one, negative 7 is to the right of negative 6.5. And this is the absolute value of negative 7. And think, absolute values are always positive, right? It's the distance from 0. So that's, alright, that's number 10. Number 11. Point A is located at negative 2, 3. Point B is located at -6.4, and point C is located at 5.3. What is the distance between point A and point C? If you can't picture it, because we're looking at A and C, right? Then you might want to draw it. You might want to make your own coordinate plane and plug those coordinates in and then just count, if that would help you. But we're only looking at point A, right? Point A and C, which is the second two. So point P is kind of irrelevant here. So we have -2.3 and 5.3. So how far are 5 and -2? It's kind of what we're trying to figure out here for number 11. How far apart are those? Alright, on this one, these are my favorites because it tells you the equation. It says 39 times 74 equals 2886, right? 2,886. So look at this number is the same as this number, isn't it? And this number, 74, is the same as this number. So I know my answer is going to end up being 2886 in some weird way. And all I have to do is figure out where my decimal point goes. So to do that, I just need to count how many decimal places I have. So I have 1 here, right? There's 1 number after my decimal. On this one, there's 2. So together, that would be 3. So there needs to be 3 numbers to the right of my decimal point on this one for number 12. All right, 13. So 13 just wants to know which one of these answers here, these guys, which one of these says that if I divide this number, basically what would it turn into, right, when I'm dividing? You got to remember KCF, which I've talked about. KCF, keep, change, flip. So if we keep your first fraction, change your sign, and then flip your second fraction, what would it look like? Which one of these is correct? Just check the box. Number 14, the reflection of -2, -6 over the y-axis is, so think, which one's going to stay the same and which one flips? Check your math notebook on that one to figure that out. It was pretty simple when we did it, but I know it's been a while, so check your notebook, see if you get to figure that one out. Basically, I'll give you a hint. One of those numbers changes. The other one doesn't. All right, number 15. Find the volume of the following rectangular prism. So volume equals length times width times height, right? LWH. Basically, your base times height times your width, right? So figure that out. And remember, it ends up cubed, right, instead of squared. 16, what is the LCM of 8 and 12? I would do the cake layer again. And this time, when you get your answer, all your outside numbers, right, the ones to the left, and the ones that end up over here, you multiply them all together to get your answer for your LCM. 17, it says find the missing number. 60 plus 72 equals 12 times something plus something. So what I would pay attention to is, this looks like almost a distributive property, right, that we do when we go 12, and there's a number here, plus 6, right? So 12 times something basically equals 60, and then 12 times 6 equals 72. So what number would go there? And that's what we're trying to figure out for number 17. That's a tricky one. Let's try your best on that one. 18. A famous basketball player scores 60 points in a game. Check all the following expressions that are equivalent to his score. So, is 1/2 of 100, is that 60 points? Well, I would work it out. 1/2 of means times 100. So this is the same as 100 divided by 2, right? Which equals 50. So that's not an answer. So I would say, no, that's not it. So keep working these out. Next we have 2/3 times 90, right? 90 over 1. Work it out. That's how we do these. And then check all the boxes that are correct. 19, you're dividing decimals here. You might want to check your notes. 20, let me see here. Identify the following values for x. Make the inequality true or not 15 less than x. So all we're going to do is basically plug in these answers. It's saying these equal x, right? So I have the first one, 15 is less than, and I'm going to plug in this first one, which is -6. So is that true? Would I rather basically have $15 or owe someone $6? So 15 is not less than, right? So this is not true. So then you're going to work it out for the rest of them. 15 less than, and then you put up your next number, which is 20. So is this correct? I would say yes, right? 15 is less than 20. So keep working on out. I did 2 of them for you already. Number 21, check all the following expressions that are equivalent to 4x plus 12y. So back to the distributive property I just showed you guys a few questions ago. This first one says 2, and I have 4x plus 6y. So I'm going to distribute here first, right? 2 times 4x equals 8x. And then I'll bring my plus sign down. 2 times 6y equals 12y. 2 times 6 is 12, right? I just attach my y to it. So 8x plus 12y, is that the same as this right here? 4x plus 12y? No. So that's not my answer. So you're going to do that for all of those. 22, use the following numbers to find the mean, median, and mode. Or median, mode, and mean. It's funny, it's different order from the top, from the question and down here. So the first step when you're doing your data set is you put it in order. So I have 7, right? Then I have 9. I like to cross them off as I get there so I don't forget any. Now I have 11. Now I have 12. But I got 12 again, so I need to add my second 12. And then I have 15 and 18, right? 15, 18. And there you go. And you can even check them all. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like I'm good. So to find your mean, you're going to add all your numbers, and then you divide by however many numbers there are. To find your median, you're going to get to the middle. If there's 2, you add them and then divide by 2. If there isn't, which there isn't, actually this is 7, so it should be an odd number. It should be a straight one in the median. It's your middle number. And then find your mode is the one that shows up the most often. So good luck with this stuff, guys. If you need help, please ask me or your teachers. Meet us on a Zoom if you need to, or just leave a comment asking for a question, and I'll try to be a little more specific. I know this is long. This was a longer assignment, but hopefully you guys can get through it. All right. Have a good one. Mr. Farina signing out.